Attention seniors, did you know that a rule you may have depended on for decades has just been taken away? Imagine this. You think you can simply pick up the phone and call Social Security to update your bank account just like you always have. But as of this week, that option is gone. No exceptions. If you try, you could face delays, missed payments, or even see your money sent to the wrong place. I'm attorney Susan Mitchell, and today I will show you exactly what has changed with the Social Security Administration's phone policy, why they did it, and what the only safe alternatives are moving forward. This may sound like just another government rule, but for millions of seniors, it could mean the difference between getting your Social Security check on time or waiting weeks without income. Before we begin, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And what time of day is it right now? I read every message and your voice matters. And one more thing, if you enjoy videos that break down urgent changes like this, hit the subscribe button. If not, just tap like anyway. It helps more seniors see this important update. Part 1. The background, the old rule, and why it was once so helpful for most seniors in America. Social Security is not just a government program. It is the steady heartbeat of retirement life. Month after month, those deposits are what keep the rent paid, the lights on, the prescriptions filled, and the fridge stocked with the basics. When we talk about financial security for older adults, Social Security is often the single most dependable thread holding things together, especially for those who no longer have a pension or a second income to rely on. Without it, daily life would feel fragile, uncertain, and constantly at risk. For decades, there was a simple and human way to keep that lifeline connected. If you needed to update your bank account, maybe because your old account closed, or you chose a new credit union with fewer fees, all you had to do was pick up the phone. A call to the Social Security Administration connected you with a real person who could ask a few security questions, confirm your identity, and enter your new routing and account number. The process was not perfect, but it worked. Most importantly, it meant seniors could keep their benefits flowing without disruption, even if they lived far from a government office or had no internet access at all. Think about the practical realities. Many older Americans live in rural communities where the nearest Social Security office might be 30 or 40 miles away. Driving that distance could mean an entire day of planning, arranging rides, and sitting in waiting rooms. For those who no longer drive, it might mean depending on neighbors, church members, or family who live hours away. A simple phone call removed all of that stress. And let's not forget that many seniors are not comfortable with online systems. Setting up a government account, remembering complex passwords, or responding to verification codes on a cell phone can feel overwhelming. For some, the thought of typing sensitive banking details into a website feels unsafe, even frightening. The phone option gave reassurance you were talking to a real representative. You could explain your situation, and you knew someone on the other end understood your urgency. There are countless stories that show how critical this convenience really was. One 85-year-old widow in the Midwest discovered her local bank branch had closed with almost no warning. She opened a new account quickly, but the next deposit was only days away. By calling Social Security, she updated her information in less than 10 minutes, avoiding weeks without income. For her, that call was not a small convenience. It was the difference between paying her rent on time or facing eviction notices. In India, people often rely on phone calls to their banks, and speaking to a live person is still the norm. That human voice on the line brings comfort, trust, and a sense of connection. American seniors once felt the same reassurance when dialing Social Security. There was comfort in knowing help was only a phone call away, and that a real person was listening and ready to protect your benefits. So the old rule was not just about convenience. It was about dignity, peace of mind, and the knowledge that your lifeline could be safeguarded from the safety of your own living room. And that is why its loss feels so heavy today. Part 2. The new rule, what has changed? The Social Security Administration has now made a decision that feels small on paper, but carries enormous weight in daily life. Seniors can no longer call the national phone line and update their bank account information over the phone no matter the reason or urgency. The system itself has been changed so that employees are locked out from even entering your new account details, meaning no representative has the power to override this rule. This is not a temporary measure, not a trial run, and not a local choice. It is a permanent nationwide change that eliminates a tool many older Americans have relied upon for decades. To understand the impact, consider the story of a 78-year-old man who recently moved into a smaller home. His old checking account was closing, and he needed to update Social Security so his monthly benefits would reach his new bank. In the past, he would have called, answered his security questions, and had it resolved in minutes. Today, he had to ask his son to drive him 50 miles to the nearest SSA office, a trip that consumed nearly an entire day and left him feeling exhausted. The stress of arranging transportation, sitting for hours in a crowded waiting room, and worrying whether the paperwork would be accepted only added to his burden. For him, the rule change was not just inconvenient. It became a physical and emotional strain that weighed heavily on his health. Now think of a woman in her 80s living in an assisted living facility. Her old bank suddenly closed a local branch, forcing her to open a new account. She cannot drive, and her mobility is limited by arthritis that makes even short walks painful. In the past, she could have handled the situation with a simple phone call. Now her only options are to create an online account she does not fully understand, or to rely on someone else to carry her paperwork to the SSA office. That loss of independence is not a small thing. It affects her confidence, her peace of mind, and her sense of control over her own life. For seniors, that emotional weight can be just as heavy as the financial risk. What makes this change especially unsettling is that it feels final. We often tell ourselves that rules will soften over time or exceptions will be made for special circumstances. But in this case, the system has been rewritten so thoroughly that even the most sympathetic SSA employee cannot help. The phone option is gone, and it is not coming back. Accepting that truth is difficult because it means adjusting to a reality that feels less personal and far less humane. In America, we value speed, convenience, and efficiency, which is why the move toward online systems seemed inevitable. Yet in India, where paperwork and face-to-face interactions remain common, older adults still rely on the reassurance of a human touch. Despite those cultural differences, one truth is universal: seniors everywhere need direct support that respects their dignity and acknowledges their limitations. Removing that support without offering equally accessible alternatives leaves many older adults feeling stranded. So what can be done? First, recognize that this is not your fault and you are not alone. Many seniors are struggling with the same frustrations, and sharing your story with trusted family members or caregivers is the first step. Second, plan ahead before a crisis arises. If your bank is stable now, consider setting up a My Social Security account online with the help of someone you trust so you are prepared before an emergency forces the issue. And third, remember that health and stress are closely linked. Studies show that chronic stress raises blood pressure, disrupts sleep, and weakens the immune system, especially in older adults. By reducing uncertainty and creating a plan, you protect not only your finances, but also your physical well-being. Yes, the change is unsettling, and yes, it takes away a sense of security many depended on. But by acknowledging it now, preparing calmly, and leaning on the support systems around you, you can still safeguard both your benefits and your peace of mind. Part 3. The real reason. Why the SSA made this change. When the Social Security Administration announced that phone updates to bank accounts would no longer be allowed, many seniors felt blindsided. At first glance, the decision looked cold, bureaucratic, and indifferent to the needs of older Americans. But when we examine the deeper reason behind it, we find something both logical and troubling. The main driver was fraud prevention. In recent years, scammers have become more aggressive and more convincing, exploiting vulnerabilities that especially affect seniors who rely heavily on phone communication. Here is how these scams often unfold. A criminal uses technology to make a phone number appear as if it is coming from the Social Security Administration itself. This practice, called spoofing, tricks the caller ID into displaying SSA, which immediately lowers your guard. The scammer then claims there has been suspicious activity or a temporary suspension of benefits, urging you to act quickly to protect your payments. Under pressure and believing the call is real, many people provide their bank details, routing numbers, or other personal information. The danger is magnified because so much personal data has already been leaked in massive corporate breaches. Hackers now have easy access to birth dates, home addresses, and even the last 4 digits of Social Security numbers. With that information in hand, they can answer the security questions meant to protect you. That makes them sound like legitimate callers, and seniors who are already anxious about their finances may feel reassured rather than alarmed. This combination of urgency, pressure, and stolen information creates the perfect trap. In India, there is a saying: when a village road is repeatedly misused by troublemakers, the local authorities will close the road entirely instead of simply stationing guards. The idea is that if the path itself disappears, so too does the danger. That is essentially the logic the SSA has applied here. By closing the phone option altogether, they remove one avenue that scammers had turned into a weapon. It is a blunt tool, but in their eyes, it eliminates the threat. Of course, this decision carries both benefits and drawbacks. On the positive side, it will make it harder for criminals to trick seniors into giving away their bank information over the phone. Families may feel slightly more secure knowing that their loved ones cannot be deceived as easily through a single call. However, the negative side is just as clear. The removal of the phone option has created hardship for countless older adults who used it legitimately. For many, that single lifeline was the only accessible way to manage changes without stress, confusion, or physical strain. This is where the psychological weight becomes heavy. Older adults often face silent pressure, the need to maintain independence, the fear of being a burden on children, and the constant worry of making a costly mistake. When an option disappears, it is not just an inconvenience. It can feel like a loss of control, another reminder that the world is moving too fast and leaving you behind. That emotional toll can elevate stress levels, raise blood pressure, and even disrupt sleep, which ultimately affects overall health. So what can you do knowing the change is permanent? First, accept that the phone option is gone and treat any future offer to update banking by phone as an automatic scam. Second, prepare alternative strategies before emergencies arise. If you are not comfortable online, ask a trusted family member to walk you through creating a My Social Security account. And third, remember that vigilance protects not only your money, but also your peace of mind. Yes, the SSA's action may feel harsh, but its purpose was to shield seniors from predators. By understanding their reasoning, we can respond not with fear, but with preparation. The power still rests with you as long as you plan ahead, lean on support when needed, and never surrender your personal details to a stranger on the phone. Part 4, the real impact, how this change affects everyday life. When we talk about Social Security, we are not just talking about numbers on a government website. We are talking about the lifeline that pays rent, covers prescriptions, keeps the lights on, and fills the pantry with groceries. For many older Americans, these benefits are the difference between stability and crisis, between peace of mind and sleepless nights filled with worry. That is why the loss of a simple phone option has rippled into something much larger than most policymakers likely imagine. Think about the practical obstacles first. Many seniors no longer drive either by choice or by necessity after health changes or safety concerns. Without a car, getting to a Social Security office can feel nearly impossible, especially in rural towns where public buses do not exist and taxis are expensive. The thought of arranging rides, leaning on family who live miles away, or depending on neighbors brings stress, guilt, and sometimes even shame. Independence, which seniors fight hard to protect, suddenly feels out of reach. Then there is the technological barrier. The SSA suggests using a My Social Security online account, but creating one is no small task. It requires email access, a cell phone for security codes, and confidence with computers. For someone who has spent a lifetime writing checks, balancing a passbook, and visiting local banks in person, the process feels intimidating. Fear of making a mistake, of typing in the wrong numbers, or of falling victim to online scams only adds to the hesitation. Technology may be efficient, but it is not always kind to those who did not grow up with it. And what about those who try the in-person route? Long waits at Social Security offices are common, with lines stretching through lobbies and hallways. Seniors who arrive early may still wait hours sitting in hard chairs with aching backs and stiff joints, only to discover they must return with additional paperwork. For some, the ordeal can last an entire day, draining both energy and patience. What should have been a simple 5-minute fix by phone now feels like a marathon, one that tests physical stamina and emotional resilience. The final option, mailing in a form, may sound old-fashioned but safe. Yet the postal system can be slow, especially in rural areas where mail delivery lags behind urban centers. Envelopes get misplaced, forms take weeks to process, and seniors are left waiting, uncertain if their benefits will arrive in the right place. For those living paycheck to paycheck, each delayed deposit means bills piling up, late fees, compounding, and essential medications put off until money clears. The consequences of these delays are far from abstract. Picture an elderly man who lives on $1,200 a month in Social Security benefits. His bank account closed suddenly, forcing him to open a new one. Because of the new rules, he had to mail in his form, and his benefits were delayed for 4 full weeks. During that month, he missed his rent payment, borrowed money for prescriptions, and skipped meals to stretch his budget. The stress left him anxious, sleepless, and physically weaker. When financial stability crumbles, health almost always suffers alongside it. Here is where culture offers an interesting perspective. In America, we have long grown accustomed to direct deposit, automatic payments, and the promise that money will appear like clockwork. It is part of the rhythm of modern life, a reassurance that we can trust the system. In India, many families still handle transactions in cash face-to-face, relying on personal contact rather than automation. While that approach has its own challenges, the reliance on human connection means that trust is built in. In America, when automation fails or becomes restricted, the sense of security is shaken deeply. For seniors especially, the loss of predictability feels like the rug being pulled from under their feet. So what does this mean for you? First, it is important to recognize that the stress you feel is real and it is not your fault. The system has changed, but your needs have not. Second, plan ahead by reviewing your bank accounts and preparing alternatives before an emergency forces your hand. Third, talk openly with trusted family members about your situation so you are not navigating these challenges alone. Stress is more than an emotional burden. It has measurable effects on heart health, blood pressure, and immunity. Protecting your peace of mind is protecting your health. Yes, the new rule creates hardships, and yes, it feels like one more challenge added to a long list. But by facing it early, planning carefully, and leaning on the resources around you, you can maintain control. Your benefits are still your right, and with preparation, they will continue to be your steady foundation, even in a world that feels less simple than it once was. Part 5. The 3 remaining ways to update your bank information. Now that phone updates are gone for good, seniors are left with only 3 official ways to keep their benefits flowing to the right account. Each method has its own strengths and weaknesses, and knowing the details in advance can save you both stress and time. Let's look carefully at all 3 and talk about how to prepare, what to expect, and how to protect your peace of mind throughout the process. The first option is visiting your local Social Security office in person. For some, this feels like the most direct path because you are speaking face-to-face with a real representative who can confirm your information immediately. The clear benefit is that you leave knowing your request has been submitted correctly, and you do not have to wonder if paperwork was lost in the mail. However, there are challenges. Offices are often far from home, especially in rural towns where the nearest branch might be 30 or 40 miles away. Long wait times are common, and sitting for hours can be exhausting when you are already dealing with back pain, arthritis, or other health issues. If you choose this route, bring a government-issued photo ID, a copy of your new bank statement, and a voided check if possible. It is wise to go with a trusted family member or friend who can drive, keep you company, and help keep track of paperwork. The second option is using the My Social Security online portal. This is the fastest method once you are set up, but creating the account is often where the difficulties begin. The process requires an email address, a cell phone number for security codes, and the ability to answer identity verification questions. Many seniors find this overwhelming or simply do not feel safe putting sensitive banking information online. If you take this path, do not be afraid to ask for help. A grandchild, a trusted neighbor, or even a librarian at your local branch can walk you through the steps. Once the account is active, you gain the ability to manage many aspects of your benefits from home, including bank updates, address changes, and even checking payment history. It can feel intimidating at first, but with support, this option provides independence without leaving the house. The third and final option is mailing in Form 1199I, officially called the Direct Deposit Sign-Up Form. This method feels familiar to many seniors who grew up paying bills by check and corresponding by post. The drawback is time. Mail can be delayed, forms can be misplaced, and processing may take several weeks. For those living on a fixed budget, even a short delay can mean skipped medications, unpaid utilities, or stress about rent. If you choose this option, fill out the form slowly and carefully, double-checking every number. Use large, clear handwriting and consider asking someone to review it before you send it. Always make a photocopy for your records and send the form in a secure envelope. This option is not ideal if you need immediate changes, but it remains a valid safety net. In India, there is a saying, "Patience is the mother of safety." When you are dealing with Social Security, patience truly does protect your money. Each method requires time, effort, and preparation, but rushing only increases the risk of errors. So here's the most important advice plan ahead. Do not wait until a bank closes or an emergency strikes. Review your situation, now decide which method feels most manageable, and prepare the documents you would need. By taking small, careful steps today, you ensure that your Social Security benefits remain steady tomorrow. Yes, the system has changed, but with knowledge, preparation, and a little patience, you still hold the power to protect both your income and your peace of mind. We have spent time together walking through a change that may feel small to some, but carries deep consequences for seniors. The Social Security Administration has permanently closed the door on updating your bank account over the phone, a method many older adults depended on for convenience, comfort, and independence. This decision cannot be reversed, and understanding it fully is the first step toward protecting yourself from disruption and unnecessary stress. Now only 3 legal and secure options remain. You can go in person to your local Social Security office, bringing identification and bank information to complete the update directly. You can create and use a My Social Security account online, a tool that may feel challenging at first but becomes empowering once you are comfortable. Or you can mail in the official Form 1199A, a slower and less reliable method, but still a final option for those who cannot manage the first 2. These are the only 3 pathways that will keep your benefits safe and ensure your deposits reach the right place. The message here is not one of fear, but of preparation. Take action before a crisis forces you into stressful delays. Set up your online account now, even if you need the help of a family member, and write down the address and phone number of your nearest SSA office so you always have it within reach. Share this knowledge with friends and loved ones because awareness spreads protection. Always remember, Social Security is more than money. It is your lifeline, your independence, and your sense of stability. Protect it the way you would protect your health and your home, because both your well-being and your dignity depend on it. In the end, wisdom is not about knowing everything, but about knowing the right step when the time comes.